Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and of course, continuing on with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles review marathon. Now we've come to the second Ninja Turtles film in the hands of Michael Bay, which being Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Yes. Out of the Shadows. You know, I think, from what I can tell, this film did okay, but not that good. For me, personally, I don't think it was that bad. Just like how I felt with the first live-action Ninja Turtles film in the hands of Michael Bay, I thought this one was pretty decent. And besides, this film, what's in the film is what everybody wanted to see for years in a Ninja Turtles film on the big screen. You name it. Rocksteady and Bebop, Baxter Stockman, the Ninja Turtles van with all the cool weapons and gadgets, the Technodrome, and most notably, Krang. Yes, Krang, one of the Ninja Turtles' biggest enemies next to Shredder. Seeing him on the big screen and in his live-action debut, pretty cool. Yeah, but still, because this film, it got mixed feelings and reviews, and I guess it was kind of better than the first one, but still not that good. So as always, read the description / the story. The Turtles face a new challenge when Shredder escapes from custody and joins forces with Baxter Stockman, a mad scientist who plans to use a serum to take over the world. Of course. Along for the ride are Bebop and Rocksteady, two dim-witted henchmen who provide plenty of muscle. Luckily, the Turtles have their own allies in April O'Neil, Vernon Fenwick, and Casey Jones, a hockey-masked vigilante. As the pizza-loving heroes prepare for battle, the notorious Krang also emerges to pose as an even greater threat. So with the story itself, the Turtles, still hiding from the civilians of New York, and, we get a moment where, we see them up close in slow motion and they show their names, and they had ordered a pizza and they go watch basketball up from above, the ceiling and so on, and we find out that Vernon Fenwick, once again played by Will Arnett, he basically became the Falcon, and, he's taking the credit for defeating Shredder, even though it was the Turtles that saved the day. But, still, Vernon and April still helped out, taking out the two main bad guys of the first film. It's true, so... and the Turtles just messing around with Vernon, at one point... They do spitballs in his face, and at one point Michelangelo, because he's eating pizza, one slice of pizza slips out of the pizza box and it causes one of the basketball players to slip, and I guess, lose the game, I guess. And there's one moment where the Turtles are going, caw-caw, caw-caw. I guess that's teenagers for you, and the Turtles themselves. And once again, April O'Neil, played by Megan Fox, meeting with Baxter Stockman. Yeah, because Baxter Stockman, who we finally see in one of these Ninja Turtles films, played by Tyler Perry. And Tyler Perry as Baxter Stockman, I thought he was pretty good. It's Tyler Perry, the same guy who plays Medea. And, he's good at playing funny and serious. And, yeah, Baxter's Stockman, because, he can have funny moments, and Tyler Perry doing a pretty good job at that. So April is determined to, figure out and solve, thinking that Baxter is working with the Shredder, and, pretending to, be someone else in disguise, wearing a blonde wig, being, a nerd, and interacting with Baxter Stockman, and on her watch, like, basically, like, downloading information from Baxter Stockman's iPad. But then at one point, some assistant of Baxter, I guess, like, takes his iPad, and April doesn't have all the information, and thus she follows him. And this is the moment where a sexy moment for April, like, taking a high school girl's, like, shorts and, like, taking the wig off and, being, like, a sexy moment, as I said, for April, and pretending to blend in with these high school girls, and, like, puts a cowboy hat on Baxter's assistant, I guess you could say. I don't think we even know who he is anyways, like, what part he has with Baxter. Like, I don't think, I can't remember. And she succeeds on getting all the information. And thus, we see Shredder moving from, I guess, one prison to another, and Shredder being played by, this time, Brian T. And, yeah, like, you can tell, because with, like, the casting changes to Shredder, because, we know what Shredder looked like in the first film. He had the scars, he was bald, and even though we didn't see his face fully, like, okay, we did, but the lighting, and there was a bit of darkness, In this, we can see his face full time, and he hardly wears the mask / helmet. And when did Shredder grow hair and a mustache and so on? I guess he did, like, when he was in prison. Like, it's very confusing. Like, you get my point. But, I'll be honest, Brian T., he was okay as Shredder. And of course, Casey Jones, who we finally get to see, as I said, in one of these Ninja Turtles films, played by Stephen Amell. Yep, Stephen Amell, a.k.a. Green Arrow. He's a good actor, and you know what? I thought he was fine as Casey Jones. But the problem with Casey Jones in this movie, and it's obvious, is that Casey, as we all know, he basically doesn't care about the law, and he's like, screw the law, and he does his own stuff, and, because he's into hockey, he has his own hockey gear and a mask. In this, no. He is a deputy, a police officer, and he dreams of becoming a detective someday. Like, that's not what the character of Casey Jones is supposed to be. I mean, maybe, probably so. Like, I guess you could say this movie is Casey Jones's origin. Like, he was once a police officer, but then at a certain point, he was like, you know what, screw all this, screw the law, blah, blah, blah. I probably have a good point, and if you understand what I'm saying, so... and once again, with the Ninja Turtles, because, yeah, talking about the casting, once again, Pete Plozak plays Leonardo, Noel Fisher, Michelangelo, Jeremy Howard, Donatello, Alan Richson as Raphael, and this time, Peter Plozak voices Leonardo, unlike in the first movie where he did not voice Leonardo, it was somebody else. That's what they should have done in the first place. Just have Peter not only be the motion caption performance of Leonardo, but do the voice as well. And once again, Tony Shalhoub voicing Splinter. And Splinter, the motion caption performance of Splinter, is this time played by Peter Donald Badalamenti II. I hope I'm saying the last name right. And there was a few noticeable changes to Splinter's look. Like, I guess, yeah, the coloring of his fur resembling, like, a little bit of, like, say, a cross between how Splinter looked in the Ninja Turtles films in the 90s to how Splinter looked in, like, the early 2000s cartoon of the Ninja Turtles. So, yeah, not bad, and, like, nice homage and stuff like that, And another thing about Splinter, we barely have anything Splinter in this movie. Like, there was a lot to do with him in the first film, and why not this? Especially big things that happen. Like, he's just there, like, sometimes, like, giving advice to his brothers. Maybe. I guess, he just leaves it to his sons to figure this out and to do what's right. Stuff like that, but still, like, we could have gotten more of Splinter. But it's just how the movie turned out, and hey, I was okay with it, but still, you know, you have those moments where, you know. So as I said, Shredder being transported to another prison, I assume, and this is where we also get the introduction of Rocksteady and Bebop. Rocksteady being played by WWE wrestler Stephen Farley, if I'm saying the last name right, and Gary Anthony Williams as Bebop. Yeah. And they were good. They were actually good. And yeah, I remember now because they were humans, but they eventually got turned into, you know, mutant animals, you know. Rocksteady as a rhino and Bebop as a warthog with a mohawk. So they're in the same, like, prison transportation vehicle with Shredder. And that's when the Foot Clan comes in to recruit and save Shredder, and the Turtles, with their Ninja Turtles van, with all the cool weapons and gadgets, comes in to stop the Foot Clan, and Casey Jones witnessing this, and when Shredder, you know, he escapes from the prison truck, transportation truck, etc., him being saved by the Foot Clan from a helicopter, at one point, he gets teleported. I think this is the Foot Clan / Baxter Stockman's doing, but it's not them that teleport him. Like, someone else teleports Shredder, and that being Krang. Yeah. Krang being voiced by Brad Garrett. And, you know, Brad Garrett, he was a good choice voicing Krang. You know, like, the voice worked really well with Krang in this film. And Krang basically proposing Shredder an alliance because Krang is well aware of Shredder, you know, wanting to, like, take over the world and, you know, to take on mankind, stuff like that. And Krang tells Shredder, goes through all the details about what Krang has plans for, you know, conquering Earth, taking over the world, etc., because of the teleportation device that they use, called the art capacitor, and basically there are two pieces that need to be retrieved. The third piece, they have it. I think, yeah, the Foot Clan has it, Baxter Stockman, but there's two pieces out there that they need to retrieve, and, you know, to fix the art capacitor, and it would create a portal using Earth's dimension, and Krang would bring in the Technodrome, and of course, conquering the world, etc., etc., etc. And yeah, then basically, yeah, because in any movie where villains want to conquer and take over the world, of course. But anyways, and Shredder, because he accepts the alliance with Krang, like, seriously, like, Shredder is not going to question who Krang is. He just listens to what Krang has to say. Well, I guess, you know, well, he must have known very quickly that Krang, he was evil, and Krang, being very well aware of Shredder and what's been going on with him and Earth, and not to mention, you know, the 4 Ninja Turtles. So there's that. So after what happened when Shredder escaped and with the whole vehicle chase, Casey tells the chief of police, Chief Vincent, played by Laura Linney, on what he saw and the 4 giant mutated Ninja Turtles. But of course, she doesn't believe him, and Casey is taken off the case. And yeah, of course, you always would have to have, like, a chief of police or any, like, police character who's a jerk and, like, doesn't think or believe in stuff like that and think that the good guys are the bad guys, like, say, Batman. You get my point. So we have another one of these characters. Basically, yeah, Casey, he is determined to bring in Rocksteady and Bebop because they did escape. And basically, Casey finds out that they have a favorite bar they go to, and Casey gets information from the bartender / the owner. about Rocksteady and Bebop, and we do see Rocksteady and Bebop there, and when they're at the bar, well, the Foot Clan come in, and they bring in Rocksteady and Bebop because they require Rocksteady and Bebop's muscles and assistance, you know, to join them and so on. And by the way, because Kari, we once again get the appearance of Kari, this time played by Brittany Ishibashi. Yeah, I hope I got the last name right. And, you know, she was fine as Kari. Why they didn't get the original actress who played Kari in the first film back for this, who knows, even for me. But again, Brittany, she was fine. So Rocksteady and Bebop being taken into TCRI, I assume that's the building, obviously, and basically they test and experiment on Rocksteady and Bebop, and, you know, because the whole thing of, like, humans being turned into animals, mutation and so on, like, in this film, it's strange, because according to Baxter Stockman, like humans having ancestor animals, like, what's that all about? Like, couldn't they have just simply said that, you know, like, just simply, like, the whole thing of, like, turning humans into mutated animals, like, you know what I'm talking about, like, why they did this, like, humans having ancestor animals, that's just, I don't know. I mean, I understand, and it's just, I don't know. It's just, well, I mean, again, look, there are different variations of the Ninja Turtles, and of course there would be some changes, but it's gotta be changes that make sense. That's what's important. Changes that make sense. If they don't make sense, then it's just bad, you know? And April, you know, she goes to TCRI and she sees, you know, like, she, like, goes into TCRI, she sees what's going on in there, and even Casey, like, is right behind April because, you know, he is determined still to, you know, bring in and take down Rocksteady and Bebop. April coming in, and she steals a bit of the ooze, you know, the purple stuff, and yeah, and, like, she runs away from the Foot Clan because, of course, you know, she was spotted by Shredder, and the Foot Clan chasing after April, and Casey helps out April by taking on the Foot Clan, and we see him in the infamous hockey mask that he wears, and with, you know, the hockey stick and so on, and, like, that's the only time we see Casey wearing the mask. That's it. Like, you know what? Casey didn't even have long hair. Like, Stephen Amell couldn't grow out his hair. I don't know. Maybe because of, you know, at the time, you know, him doing Arrow and, like, him having long hair. Probably. And you get my point. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just how this version of Casey Jones is, and with his hair. So you get my point. And Casey, he helps and saves April, and the Turtles stepping in to help out April. And, like, you know, coming in and telling Casey, you know, get away from her, blah, blah, blah. And Casey meeting the Turtles for the first time, and they bring Casey down to the sewers, and, of course, Casey meeting Splinter. I think it was Michelangelo. Yeah, of course this would have to be Michelangelo, that played a trick on Casey to charge and attack Splinter, but knowing Splinter, yeah, because Splinter pinning Casey to the ground, it's pretty funny. So the Turtles, April, and Splinter trying to figure out, you know, and to take down Shredder, and the whole thing of, you know, the ooze and stuff like that. But Casey, at first, he wants no part of this. He wants to do this on his own. Even say when Michelangelo at one point, because, well, at one point, like, April, like dropped the ooze, and at one point when the police came in, going to arrest the Foot Clan, well, one of the police officers grabbed the container of ooze that April stole from TCRI, and did they get it? Like, did April get it back? Or, like, what? I don't think they ever explain it. But at one point, Donatello discovers that if the Turtles take the ooze, they would transform into humans, and Donatello does so by testing it out on his hand, and he gets 5 fingers. And if they would take this and transform into humans, then, their lives would be so much better. No longer hiding in the sewers, and they would be accepted, to the humans and civilization. But Leonardo, he doesn't like this, and he disagrees on this, and he tells Donatello not to tell this to Michelangelo and Raphael. But of course, Raphael, he overhears it, and he tells Raphael about this, and Raphael, as we all know, because of his temper, and he can sometimes be a jerk, he's really pissed off at Leo, and confronting Leo on keeping secrets from, the brothers, stuff like that. And yeah, I've come to realize that, it's noticeable. Sometimes Leonardo can not be a good leader. He can be harsh as well. Especially for both Leonardo and Raphael. They can be very serious at times, and they both can sometimes be big jerks. And unfortunately, this causes a rift with the 4 brothers splitting up and no longer being a team. Donatello and Leonardo going to a museum to track down, one of the pieces to the arc capacitor that Shredder and Rocksteady and Bebop, they're after, and one of them is in, the museum in Washington. For Michelangelo and Raphael, they want to get more of the ooze at TCRI, and they have help from April and Casey and Vern. We don't get that much of Vern at the beginning of this film, but of course he does help out, halfway into the movie and near the end of the film, stuff like that. Vern helps them get into TCRI by distracting the police officers, by taking selfies with them, while April and Casey, they disguise themselves as, I guess, plumbers, that's a usual disguise for any characters, and Raphael and Michelangelo, they're in inside of the building, and the air conditioning systems, and the Foot Clan beat them to it by getting the ooze at TCRI or the police station, whichever. And Raphael, Michelangelo, they call in Leonardo and Donatello. Well, unfortunately, Shredder and Rocksteady and Bebop, they got one of the 2 missing pieces for the arc capacitor. Leonardo and Donatello, they showed up late, but they do get some more details and information about what's going on. And, again, they're called in by Raphael and Michelangelo. They call them to help them out. They need more backup and so on. And when Leonardo and Donatello, they arrive, well, that's when the police officers and the chief of police, Chief Vincent, they see the turtles in person. And, when Vincent, she didn't believe in Casey that, there were giant 4 mutated turtles. Well, now she sees them. And even, the police officers, they say, what are those things? And one says, they're monsters. They're monsters! And kind of emotional right there. And, and for Michelangelo, you can hear it in his voice, we're not monsters. Because, they're the heroes. They're the good guys. And even Casey and April having the Ninja Turtles' backs and, giving them time to escape. And not once did the police officers fire at them when they were escaping. Even when, say, Leonardo used his sword on the police officers, knocking their weapons out of their hands, and thus Casey and April, they're taken in for questioning. And even when Vincent saw the turtles with her own eyes, she still doesn't believe in Casey that Rocksteady and Bebop became mutant creatures / animals as well. She has no reason not to believe Casey and April. She has already seen the turtles. That's another thing. Is she that stupid? Seriously. In the end, she does lighten up, and when, the police officers, they join and help the turtles. So, and with the turtles, basically Donatello can track down Rocksteady and Bebop's DNA. And basically, Shredder, Rocksteady, and Bebop travel to Brazil to track down and find the second to last piece for the arc capacitor, in which they do find it, and the Turtles, well, they traveled to Brazil, hiding in the cargo of a plane, and only to realize that Shredder, Rocksteady, and Bebop, they're heading back to New York, and, they have to jump from the plane, and Raphael, he has a fear of heights, basically, and, he's got a parachute on, but the other three turtles don't. I mean, they got their shells, yeah, of course. And so Raphael, because he's the only one that hasn't jumped yet, but of course he does jump. And yeah, some pretty cool action with the Turtles taking on Rocksteady and Bebop in the plane, as the plane is, starting to be damaged and broken, and for the plane to crash into the Brazil, ocean, basically, the water, the river, basically, and, going down a waterfall. And of course, Rocksteady and Bebop, they escape, and Leo, being a jerk once again, a jerk of a leader, and more on April and Casey being held in for questioning. Chief Vincent, at one point, showed security camera footage from TCRI, where it shows that April, well, she stole the ooze, but, what was happening, because Rocksteady and Bebop were there, so clearly they would be in the security camera footage, but somehow, obviously, it was Baxter and the Foot Clan's doing, they, digitally removed Rocksteady and Bebop, making it look like it was just April there, being a thief and so on, but of course that's not the case. And, Casey and April telling, Chief Vincent that, their Rocksteady and Bebop were there again, because, she doesn't believe that Rocksteady and Bebop had become, mutant animals. Geez, lady, you saw the Turtles. And somehow Casey managed to, sneak in a phone, and, April, she calls Vern, to once again help, to go into TCRI and to basically find the security camera that's hidden, that has the actual footage where Rocksteady and Bebop, they're in the footage. And a funny moment with Vern, because, discovering, cords and, tearing them off the wall and, going around and then leading back to where he started. And the camera is from a clock, and then, finds, opens a hatch on the wall, and, he brings the security camera footage to the police, and showing Chief Vincent that, that Rocksteady and Bebop were there, and that they're mutant animals. And of course, she does believe, and she lets go Casey and April. And right after that, well, Krang comes in. Well, because, yeah, with the portal being open, and, the techno drone coming in, Krang, all that, and Krang about to conquer Earth, and, the techno drone being put together, basically, attached to a magnet, and the pieces coming in. And the police and, Chief Vincent, they meet up with the Turtles, and thus they create an alliance, and the police and Chief Vincent, they're okay with the Turtles. And even say when, very nice for the police, they hide and cover the Turtles from the public to see them. And so the Turtles, they go into the building that they're supposed to go to, and up to the rooftop, and to follow the pieces that are being magnetized to create the techno drone. And with what the Turtles are doing, April, Casey, and Vern going in to, help out, take down the techno drone from, building itself, and to take the techno drone back to its own dimension. And sure enough, Rocksteady and Bebop are there, and Casey once again trying to take down Rocksteady and Bebop. Rocksteady and Bebop, they're on motorcycles, and they chase Casey. And for Vern and April, shutting down, what the Foot Clan are doing. But by the way, because when the portal was open, and thanks to Baxter, well, Shredder betrays Baxter, no longer requires Baxter's assistance, and, Baxter is, trying to convince and beg Shredder that, he's done so much for them. And even though technically, I don't know, because, I don't think this film really establishes Baxter, if he's a bad guy or anything like that, because as far as I recall, Baxter, he never was a bad guy. He was forced to work with Shredder and the Foot Clan, their evil doings. So, yeah, Baxter about to be taken in by the Foot Clan, and yeah, if I remember correctly, taking him to Japan, and Shredder saying to Baxter that he has and always will be a footnote. And come on, Shredder could have said something better to Baxter, because we know very well that Baxter transforms and mutates into a bug, a fly, an insect. So Shredder should have said something like, "You have and always will be an insect, a fly," stuff like that. It definitely would have worked. But, Shredder calling Baxter a footnote, I guess it kind of works, because for me, in my opinion, because, Baxter being used by the footnote, Baxter doing evil stuff for the Foot Clan, even though, because he's forced to do this stuff. So if you get what I'm saying, I mean, I don't know, Shredder calling him a footnote, it's fine. Like the more you think of it. So, and yeah, that's it for Baxter. We never see him again in this movie. He's taken in by the Foot Clan to Japan. That's it. Bye-bye, Baxter. And as for Shredder, well, he once again meets up with Krang, only to find out that Krang, he no longer has any use for Shredder. Krang betrays Shredder, and Krang freezes Shredder and storing him inside the ship / the techno-drone, and that's it for Shredder. Literally, that's it. He's defeated by being frozen and placed in storage. That's it for Shredder. Golly, bad luck for Shredder, because he wants to conquer the world and stuff like that, and, well, I mean, that's for villains, bad luck for them. Evil never wins, then that's a fact. So the Turtles, of course, they get up to the ship / the techno-drone, and they come face-to-face with Krang, and, of course, they fight against Krang, and, of course, with Vern and April, they take on Kari, they defeat her, and they shut it off, and, yep, the techno-drone, the pieces of the techno-drone being taken back to its own dimension. Krang, of course, is defeated, and the epilogue to the film, well, the Ninja Turtles are accepted by the police officers and Chief Vincent. They're given a ceremony, they're given keys to the city, and more on Splinter, because he is there, but, the thing is, Splinter, never had a scene with the police officers and Chief Vincent. Again, as I said, we don't get that much of Splinter in this film, and, seriously, that's kind of important for, the police officers and Chief Vincent to also know about Splinter's existence. And yeah, because as I said, Splinter is there, and he's basically, at the corner, I guess you could say, just watching, and, he's very happy for his sons. Seriously, this is Splinter we're talking about, so... Chief Vincent, she's telling the Turtles that they can be outside of New York and, they can have a normal life, but the Turtles, they still rather remain hidden and, hiding from the public and, of course, the civilians of New York, in which that's what they still do. And I don't know, because I guess you could say, that's a bit similar to Batman. I mean, the Turtles and Batman, they have a lot in common, They don't make public appearances, they hide from the shadows, stuff like that. You get my point. But one thing about Batman and the Turtles is, sometimes, they are well aware by the police and stuff like that, so there you go. Also, Casey and April kind of hit it off, and, Casey asking April, like catching a game of his, etc. Like, another funny moment from Vern trying to, hit on, the two, women police, I guess you could say, at the ceremony in the uniforms that they're in. And the turtles, we get one last shot of the turtles on top of the Statue of Liberty, and, they say something funny, and boom, that's how the movie ends. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, I thought was pretty good and decent. And I understand it's not the best, but, there are some things in this film that are pretty good. Everything that the fans wanted to see in a Ninja Turtles film on the big screen, you name it. And, no doubt that there are those like myself that enjoy the two Ninja Turtles films that Michael Bay did. No doubt about it. And I'm giving Out of the Shadows 7 out of 10 stars. Yes, 7 out of 10 stars for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. And what about you guys? What did you think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows itself? What did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. So, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. More review videos coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video/review. And of course, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles review marathon is still continuing. And remember when I mentioned the Turtles and Batman and how they share a lot in common? Well, the next Ninja Turtles film happens to also have the Dark Knight in it. You know what I'm talking about. Stay tuned for that later this week. Take care, and peace out.